And what's DNS? What's domain name system? Well, for those of you who are not familiar, think of it like the phone book. So, as I'm sure you've heard, since most of you who are listening have heard for years now, there's these things called IP addresses. And those are really what the internet runs on, different addresses where different websites are and different services are that you pull and push information to in order to experience everything from web pages to Netflix to whatever you use. Well, people don't like to type in IP addresses. They like to type in URLs, which is www.google, www.amazon, and like. Well, how do you link the name and the URL with the IP address? That's what the domain name system is all about. So imagine if all of a sudden that didn't work. And that's how you get Monday. Thank you for tuning in to Legitimate Cybersecurity. My name is Frank Downs, and I'm here with Dr. Dustin Brewer. And today we're going to discuss how this is actually a bigger concern than most people are letting on. So, Dustin, I kind of wanted to start with the fact that I look at a lot of incidents that have happened over the last year. And, whether we're talking about advanced persistent threat actors, where there's some hints that they might have taken action, or we're talking about specific targeted things where any kind of malicious actor took advantage of a situation. In this instance, Amazon said that didn't happen at all, and it was just a big old whoopsie. Well, that big old whoopsie really caused a lot of issues. And I have to say, I'm not too angry in certain areas. For example, the smart bed company, 8Pod, I do not like their business practices. They used to be able to just buy one of their beds, connect it to the internet, and use its services that came with the bed. Now, if you want to use the services that come with the bed, you have to pay a subscription. And that sounds like a hellscape to me at nighttime if I've ever heard of one. So what do you think when you hear this? And it's almost like it's a big single point of failure to realize that so much of the internet runs on one specific service and capability, that being AWS, and that being specifically this one here in the Virginia area. What does that kind of prompt inside of you? Are we for something that is decentralized, the internet, right? Sounds like it's pretty centralized in this instance. And should we be concerned?
Yeah, and so this goes right back to what you and I talked about on our last episode, where and you know what we've talked. This is like a recurring theme that keeps happening, where there's a new technology, something new comes out. Right now that's AI, and AI is on everybody's brain. And what we're really
It
still
was
talking
probably
about.
running the DNS. Oh, bro.
Hey, there have been. You know what? It's funny. There have been false reports that Amazon fired half of its programmers and replaced it with AI, and that's what prompted this.
I guess
That
maybe it's
has
not so
that's not
surprising.
substantiated. I looked it up and I was like, no, that's not true. Nobody has announced that. They've integrated some AI practices into their SDLC or into their hopefully SDLC, but into their development lifecycle.
If they
And
haven't, they might now.
yeah, and so then there's some speculation there. But look, DNS. We talked about this last episode where we're still everybody's treating this like treats the newer technologies like, oh, this is a game changer. This is something new. We got to look at it from a cybersecurity perspective. What is it? And sure, there are nuances to that. However, we're still talking about the same old systems, the same old protocols that we've been using
It's
since the 70s and
still built
80s.
on the same old bones. It just
It's the
looks real
same
good.
thing. So when cloud computing first was kind of ideated about by Google's CEO in 2006, or first named, I guess you can say, by Google's CEO in
Yeah, when they
2006.
first started calling the cloud, even though the
Right.
cloud
We
had
were
been
all like,
floating for decades.
Right, we were all like, "Great, so servers?" And they're like, "No, no, 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 this is different." They're server well, yeah, they're servers, but it's different because of the way the billing works. Okay. And now there
Marketing.
are software services and everything else that kinda go along with that. It has evolved, but it still is, I think I've said this before, one of my favorite, I think it's like a meme where, there is no cloud, it's just somebody else's computer. Yes, and here's proof of that, like this is proof that kind of happened on a worldwide scale. Now, the one
And your
question
bed is
though.
connected to someone else's computer. Think about that.
Yeah.
Let it set in. Your bed, if you have an 8-pod sleep bed, is connected to someone else's computer that you don't control.
That's right.